I just want you to take a look at this four-chamber view. You will easily recognize that the patient has reduced left ventricular function and dilated cardiomyopathy. But there's much more information in this four-chamber view. You can get clues as to what its symptoms are, what its prognosis is, possibly also what the cause of dilated cardiomyopathy is, and we can even find a clue to how to treat the patient. Echocardiography is probably the primary imaging tool to assess patients with dilated cardiomyopathy. With help of echo, we can not only establish the diagnosis, we can also assess the prognosis, the hemodynamic sequels, and very often we can even find out what the cause of dilatation and of reduced left ventricular function is. The concept of dilated cardiomyopathy has changed over the centuries. While in the 1850s we believed that viral myocarditis is the primary cause of the disease, we now know that many other factors also play a role, ranging from genetic influences, autoimmune disease, infection, toxins, and many other. But let's first take a look at how we actually define dilated cardiomyopathy. It is defined as a primary myocardial disease which shows systolic dysfunction and where the key finding is a dilatation of the left ventricle. In contrast to, for example, coronary artery disease, where the problem is a coronary one which causes infarcts and thereby dilatation of the left ventricle, dilated cardiomyopathy is a primary myocardial disease. There are actually many different causes for dilated cardiomyopathy. In this review of 1,200 patients, you can see that it is often difficult to find the etiology in many patients. In 50% of patients, the etiology was termed idiopathic. Probably this is due to the fact that you have to perform biopsy and extensive workup, which includes immune histochemistry and microbiology, to really find the reason. We now know that very often the disease is caused by myocarditis, either by the virus itself or as a consequence of autoimmune response to myocarditis. Genetic disease seems to play a role, but there's also other causes such as infiltrative heart disease, peripartal cardiomyopathy, hypertension, infections with HIV, or connective tissue diseases which can cause dilated cardiomyopathy. In addition, we also know that toxins themselves, such as drugs or chemotherapies, can cause a reduction in left ventricular function and result in dilated cardiomyopathy. So to really classify a dilated cardiomyopathy as being idiopathic, no other definite cause should be present. We talked about the problem that you need biopsy and extensive workup in many patients already. In addition, you should have a normal coronary angiogram, as you can see here on the right, which does not have a stenosis of more than 50%. But you have to be aware of the fact that patients could also have a spasm or a thrombus, and that was the cause for an infarct. So therefore, even a normal coronary angiogram in reality does not necessarily exclude an ischemic cause for dilated cardiomyopathy. Heart failure, which is a consequence of dilated cardiomyopathy, is a very severe medical state. Here are just some facts and figures. Over 10,000 deaths in the US alone, 46,000 hospitalizations, and it affects both the young and the old. The diagnosis is usually made between 20 and 60 years of age. The consequence of dilated cardiomyopathy is left heart failure, which could cause pulmonary hypertension and eventually right heart failure. This right heart failure could be caused by disease affection of the right ventricle or via pulmonary hypertension, which could also cause dilatation and a problem of the right heart. There are a number of associated problems which range from desynchrony to atrial fibrillation, mitral regurgitation, and tricuspid regurgitation, and even thromboembolism. Keep all this in mind when you investigate the patient. Now we will turn to what we actually see in these patients.